Any other discussion? Anybody
No,
else?
that's outstanding.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Do these numbers pretty much hold true from previous years? Are we on track?
The numbers are typical for a graduating class about the size. We have approximately 114 students in the senior class. So the numbers are typical. Where we see a little bit of variety is in the schools, and that, of course, is student choice.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mrs. Tullo, I do have one question, and because this question keeps popping up in all arenas. Do you see the economy affecting some of the choices that the students make? I have a daughter that's going off to college, and I know my house, that was a huge topic of discussion. Who gives you the best package? And perhaps that's not necessarily your first choice, so.
For many families, that does factor into that final decision because it can be quite costly. Some of the schools I mentioned are tens of thousands of dollars per year. And then we also have John and Abigail Adams scholars who also take advantage of the opportunity to go to a state school free of tuition.
How many students are actually taking advantage of that? I know we had about 30 students, I
We
think,
had
actually.
about a little over 30. I think we had 32 or 33. And I would say probably around 20 are taking advantage.
Good. And I know many of them will start at the state school and then
Yep.
maybe go to another choice, their first choice for the
That's
last
always an
2
option.
years. So, good, very good. Congratulations to all those students. Thank you.
And if I could put in a plug, and the reason partly why it's in my mind, not just my own child, but we are in the process of looking at scholarship applications. So it's one of those things that, the school district does have some ability to provide some assistance to the students, whether it be through some of the grants that we have gotten directly or through some other organizations that have provided over the years many scholarships. And it's a good process. I'm looking forward to participating in looking at all those applications. It's always a fun time of the year to see what the students have accomplished and read their dossier of everything they've done in the last few years. Actually, it makes you feel like, yes, we've done a good job with these students. So
Good. Well, good luck to the rest of the students that are still awaiting acceptances and all that stuff. Now you stay here, I think, for the update on the scheduling process.
we just got to wake up the computer.
Okay. I know it's hard to see over your shoulder. I did print an outline if anyone would like a visual to follow along.
I'll take one of those. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Jim. On that side, right?
If you don't mind.
To the left.
Yes, for Marge.
Okay, so the schedule at Westport High School, actually, it's been ongoing for the last 2 years in terms of looking at what has worked and what might not be working for the students at Westport High School. So on the first slide and on the outline that you have in front of you, this was some of the summary, a very brief summary of the research that was done last year by the scheduling committee. And we looked at the block schedule at the time, which was a 4x4 block, 4 84-minute periods each day for one semester, and then the same thing but different classes in the second semester. And some of the benefits that the staff saw at the time was that obviously students only had 4 classes per day. It was a very good schedule for dual enrollment at the local colleges. It mimicked a college schedule. It allowed teachers in their instruction to go very deep. Plenty of time for labs and projects, plenty of time to personalize instruction, make accommodations for students of all abilities, and being that there were only 4 periods in the day, there were fewer transitions. Some of the challenges that we saw at that time were the possible gap between courses because a student might not have English 10 immediately after English 9. There might have been a semester in between there. Some students' attention span was a challenge, trying to get a semester balance of courses so you didn't have all your media courses in one semester. the alignment with the MCAS test schedule. As you know, MCAS testing is always in the spring, and so if a student had English in the fall, they might not have English the semester they're being tested in. And when a student was absent, particularly if they were ill for even a few days, it was a challenge to make up the work that had been missed. And then there were some things that staff saw as both a benefit and a challenge. Some people saw the longer class time as a benefit, others saw it as a challenge. Some saw the opportunity for students to be able to start homework in class as a benefit, because then students went home with a clear understanding of what they had to do at night, and some saw that as a challenge. And then the same thing for more time in class for reading and discussion, particularly in the English classes. That came out more as a benefit to the staff. So after one semester, we switched to the 6-period day in the fall, and after one semester, staff revisited it again, and 2 of the questions that we discussed were, what has been the impact of the 6-period day on teaching and learning in your classroom, and what, if any, change did they perceive in the school climate? And some of the responses that were repeated by several teachers, they felt there were fewer opportunities to either accelerate, for students to accelerate or remediate. Some students are overwhelmed, carrying 6 classes a day as opposed to 4. Time management is difficult, less time to work one-on-one with students in class, less time for projects and in-depth learning, more transitions during the school day, and because students only have the opportunity to select 6 instead of 8 courses, courses are sometimes in competition with each other because students have to choose one thing over another. Quick look at some of the school-wide data that I've been looking at. I am seeing increased failures for students, and that's resulting in more students being ineligible for sports and extracurricular activities. Typically, over the last 4 years, I would have approximately 80 students per quarter being ineligible, now averaging around 110 per quarter who are ineligible. We are seeing increased tardies to class during the school day. Again, it's that transition difficulty, which result in increased detentions, because for every 3rd time they're tardy, they do receive detention. And right now, can't predict what the outcome of the MCAS will be. My biggest concern lies with the Intro to Physics, which is the 9th grade MCAS that we take. Under the other schedule, we had made a commitment to providing Introduction to Physics for the year for 9th grade students, which gave them an 84-minute block the entire year. This year, they have it for the entire year, but it's only a 54-minute block. So with that loss of class instruction, I'm not sure what the impact might be on the Intro to Physics. So what have we done so far this year?
You have to make it really small.
I know, that's why I gave the outline. So when we look at this year and what have we done, so we started, once again, which is typical on any given year, regardless of the schedule. It's usually after the holiday that we begin to look at it so that we can plan accordingly for the following year. So around February 1st is when the staff discussed those 2 questions that you saw on an earlier slide. On February 25th, I worked with the guidance department, and we worked out the logistics of scheduling night. We then received recommendations from the Westport Middle School teachers for students who will be moving from grade 8 to grade 9. We have updated the program of studies. Mid-March, met with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and director of special education to talk about some of the needs of the students, particularly those moving from 8th to 9th. We had our scheduling afternoon, actually, on March 17th, and that's where all students fill out a ballot for next year and select the courses that they're interested in taking. Met with the assistant superintendent and the math supervisor regarding the math offerings. We now require students to take 4 years of math, which means that at some point we need to look at offering more math courses for students so that they get that 4th year in. On March 21st, I asked the staff for their scheduling preferences in terms of what they want to teach and in terms of how much time they would like to teach it. Some of the elective teachers opted that their course run just for 1 semester last year. Some opted that they run it for the entire year. So we just wanted an update on that. Based upon that, we revised the course selection ballot. By April 15th, all of the recommendations have been entered